Today I'm looking at the LEGO Douglas DC-3 PAN AM Airliner. It's part of LEGO's Aviation lineup alongside sets like the Concorde and Shuttle Carrier. The DC-3 is an iconic aircraft from the early days of international air travel, as this version features PAN AM branding, the airline that played a major role in the development of long-distance commercial flying in the 1930s. So let's take a look at what this set actually delivers. Before we even get to Douglas itself, we need to talk about the 4 minifigures, which feel like a slightly unexpected addition here, and honestly, one of the main reasons I picked up this set. The level of detail on them is genuinely impressive. Starting with the captain, the design looks excellent. There is also a nice surprise here with subtle arm printing, plus a really well executed pilot head element that ties the whole figure together nicely. Then we move on to the cabin crew, which represent different eras of the airline's history. First is the 1930s style stewardess with detail-like printing and a classic headpiece. Next is a 1950s stewardess, again featuring leg printing, along with a new hair and head combination that feels fresh compared to earlier LEGO designs. Finally, there is a male steward in an 80s style uniform, which rounds out the crew nicely, and only one minifigure has dual-sided faceprint. Overall, these minifigures are fantastic, and I can definitely see myself picking up extra torso parts later on. They aren't available on the pick-a-brick service yet, so bricklink might be the better and probably cheaper option. I would really love to build a full crew for my LEGO City setup. And we also get a small display stand, which is a great inclusion, since it lets you keep the figures neatly displayed instead of having them scattered around. It features a large printed PAN AM logo on 6x6 rounded tile, which really ties the whole presentation together. Before we get to the plane itself, let's take a look at the stand. It features a printed 6x6 tile packed with information similar to what we saw in the Concorde set or other aircraft or ship displays. Placing and removing the plane uses the same mounting system as the Concorde, which is great to see. It feels secure and well thought out, especially compared to the Boeing set where the stand mechanism felt a bit more clumsy. It is nice to see LEGO refining these designs over time. The stand itself is also very similar in style to the Concordes, which I don't really mind. In fact, when you place them side by side, it actually helps reinforce that they belong to the same display series or theme, which makes the overall collection feel more cohesive. And now let's move on to the DC-3, the Douglas Classic Airliner. And to be honest, I have pretty mixed feelings about this set. Starting with the positive, it is actually quite large, and overall the design is fine. If you haven't built a LEGO plane before, you're probably going to be impressed by it. But if you already own the other 2 aircrafts in this lineup, you will start noticing a lot of similarities, and honestly, it can feel a bit repetitive or even slightly lazy in terms of design direction. The building process is also very similar to the last year's Boeing set, but I will get more into that later. Looking at the plane, it does look good from most angles, but the nose is where the things start to fall apart a bit. It suffers from a similar issues as the Boeing from the last year. It feels a bit too odd, and it doesn't integrate smoothly with the rest of the aircraft. The windshield piece is printed, which is great to see. You can also remove the top panel to reveal a micro-scale interior. It's not minifigure scale at all, but it's still quite detailed for what it is. From underneath, you can see more sensors for wind, while the top includes additional measurement details. Moving towards the body, another panel can be lifted to reveal more of the interior, although this section doesn't quite sit flush and lifts slightly, which is a bit annoying. Another connection point would be appreciated. Inside, there is a nice mix of dark red and sand blue seating, which gives it some good contrast. However, you can also see a hole in the floor where the landing gear mechanism sits, and that does take away from the overall polish. It feels like this could have been handled better. Towards the rear, there is even more interior detail, including what I assume is a lavatory, but unfortunately this section becomes inaccessible once the model is fully assembled. From the outside, You do get some nice touches, like printed Pan Am tiles on both sides and well-designed transparent window sections. The blue color scheme is also interesting. Not my personal favorite, but it actually works surprisingly well here. There is also a subtle indication of an emergency exit door. At the rear, we also get the same Pan Am branding that appears on the stand, which helps tie everything together visually. That said, there isn't much functionality or playability happening in this section overall, but the wingspan is quite impressive, at around 76 cm or 30 inches, and the wings themselves are nicely built. That said, there aren't really any play features here, and the lack of functional wing flaps feels like a slightly omission. On the positive side, the brick-built propellers looks excellent and can actually spin, which is a nice touch. Underneath the wings, the things feel a bit less refined. There are some inverted tiles, which I appreciate, but I do wish the detail continued across the entire wingspan instead of being mostly focused on the fuselage area. Looking underneath the aircraft, there is a very noticeable blue Technic gear used to retract the landing gear. I can see that some people might not like the color choice, but personally, I don't mind it being visible. It immediately signals that there's function involved, which is helpful. The mechanism itself works well, as long as everything is aligned properly, and it's fairly simple compared to the other LEGO aircrafts. That said, the technical elements are always visible whether the gear is extended or retracted, which does take away from the clean look a bit. There is also a small rear wheel included in the landing setup, although unfortunately it isn't retractable. This set is priced at around 220 American dollars or euros or 200 British pounds and includes 1903 pieces, along with 4 minifigures. Just to be clear, this video is not sponsored by the LEGO Group. However, if you are thinking about picking this set up from the LEGO website or honestly buying anything from Amazon, I would really appreciate if you use the affiliate links in the description. It's a small gesture, but genuinely helps support the channel and allows me to keep making content like this, so thank you in advance. Inside the box, you get a single instruction manual, and right from the start you are greeted with a strong wave of Pan Am nostalgia. It immediately sets the tone for the build. One thing I really appreciate is that there are no stickers at all. As you build, the booklet continues to add value by sprinkling in interesting facts and historical details about both the Douglas aircraft and Pan Am itself, which keeps the experience engaging throughout. You also get 14 numbered bags, and the whole build takes just under 3 hours at a relaxed pace. Overall, the building experience is okay, though there is a fair bit of repetition, and the structure of the build will feel familiar if you have built the Boeing set from the last year, since the process is quite similar. There is a small amount of Technic pieces involved, but it's not overly complex. That said, a few steps can feel a bit fiddly, especially for people with larger fingers, but here and there were some interesting building techniques. Overall, I'm not overly impressed with this DC-3, but I might still end up picking up a second copy, because I can see this looking really good once I eventually build an airport for my LEGO city. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I will definitely be picking up more copies of the minifigures, because I really do love them. Honestly, I am not even sure if I would bought the set at all if the minifigures weren't included. They added much of a highlight for me. When I compare it to the other 2 LEGO aircrafts in the lineup, I still think the Concorde comes out on top, followed by the DC-3 in second place. But that's just my opinion. And now I want to hear yours. Do you agree with me, or do you see things differently? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed this review and want to see more LEGO content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and consider using affiliate links when picking up any brick build models. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy building!